If you've been following the Japanese economy lately, you know there hasn't been a lot of good news lately. 2 decades of stagnation, prolonged deflation, a shrinking population that's continuing to age rapidly. But now the government is working on its big fix. It's something called Abenomics. Abenomics is named after Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. This is his baby, a bold set of policy measures with the aim of hitting a 2% inflation target in 2 years. Its main features are ramped up public spending and printing plenty more money. Abenomics is bold, not to mention controversial, for a couple of reasons. One, that the central bank has long practiced loose monetary policy, and it now plans to flood the economy with even more liquidity, with unlimited asset purchasing. Reason number 2 is that Japan just happens to have a staggering amount of debt per GDP, over 200%, the highest figure for any developed country. And now the government wants to take these policy measures to a whole new level. There's going to be more money flooding the system and more government spending. Hang on, you might be saying. Isn't this exactly what got Japan into its mess in the first place? Surely Japan needs to rein things in. Surely it needs a good dose of austerity and not another spending spree on steroids. But Abenomics is the antithesis of austerity. And it has its backers, including prominent economists. Remember when Dick Cheney said, "Deficits don't matter"? In Japan's case, they don't, according to these experts. Nearly all of Japan's debt is held by the Japanese, including institutions. So when the government services its debt, the money goes back into the system. What's more, government bond yields remain extremely low, and yet demand for JGBs is as strong as ever. In fact, Abenomics is in line with textbook economics. Governments should spend when growth is slow, and the time to cut spending is when growth starts to pick up. Businesses and investors seem to agree. Sentiment has improved, the stock market has been on a tear, and the yen has come down to levels that make Japanese exports a lot more competitive. The public, meanwhile, having endured a couple of decades of recession, seems to need a bit more convincing.
日本の経済はこれからどうなると思いますか。
わからないけど良くなってほしいです。
あ、そうですか。
はい。
でも本当にどう思うんですか。でも
まあ良くないですね。
良くない？まだ良くなると思うんですか。
まあ少し上がる傾向にあるかもしれないですけど、あんまりその
アベノミクスということを聞いたことありますね。
あります。はい。そう。まあ期待したいです。期待したいです。はい。はい。
でも確実にそうわからないんですね。
まだ時間経ってみないとわからない。と思います。わかりました。
Critics, meanwhile, are having a field day with Abenomics. Japan's debt, they say, is already unsustainable. Further pumped up spending and liquidity could well lead to a collision course and end with Japan suffering from a massive debt crisis. So who's right? The answer to that question could well emerge in the next year or two. If Japan succeeds in hitting its inflation target with rising incomes and no signs of any bubbles, well then the austerity crowd, including those in Europe, could be forced into a serious rethink.